It's another Disney Plus series focusing on some of my favorite characters from the Marvel Universe, so I felt it was appropriate to wring out the old MLMillerTights for another round of opinions, theories, backstories, Easter eggs, and clues. Of course, spoilers as well. While we had sitcom antics and romantic tragic twists in WandaVision, now we get to gear up for the high-stakes intrigue, bone-rattling action, and espionage that'll make you cross-eyed from looking over your shoulder whilst never missing a minute as to what's playing on the screen. For those wondering, I'll be covering the Justice League Snyder Cut soon, but I haven't finished it since it was 4 mother-flapping hours long. With the Falcon and Winter Soldier clocking in at just a little over 30 minutes, it gets the preferential treatment for brevity. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 1, is entitled New World Order. It's streaming now on Disney+. It's directed by Kari Skogland, and written by Malcolm Spellman from characters created by Gene Colan, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Joe Simon, Ed Brubaker, Steve Eptig, John Byrne, and most especially Mark Gruenwald. When we last saw Captain America, played by Chris Evans, he was an old fart looking ominously over a serene lake, handing his shield over to Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, at the end of Endgame. This was supposed to be ushering in a new era of Captain America, with the Falcon carrying on the Star-Spangled tradition. That's always bothered me a bit, because it always seemed like Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan, was the one who really deserved the shield. He fought by Cap's side through World War II, died, came back just like he did, fought for the bad guys, and eventually redeemed himself. I understand maybe Cap felt that Bucky needed a bit more time to get over his problems, and that Sam would be the more level-headed of his partners, but still, it felt like a bit of a rash decision. I also thought Falcon was an awesome hero in his own right. He was a strong soldier, and a powerful ally in any fight, and a hero all his own. In the comics, when Falcon eventually became Cap, writer Nick Spencer made a wonderful allegory of the struggles President Obama faced when he became the first black president. That's not to say that the Falcon will do that in this show, but most know that Sam was Captain America for a time in the comics. Still, I felt it diminished the character, not because of his skin color, but because Sam's heroics as the Falcon made him an icon already. Taking the role of another so easily makes what he was doing feel less impactful and, more importantly, unique and individual. Falcon was one of my favorite characters when I was a kid. I even had the NECA figure with the felt wings, so seeing him adopt the costume of another just never felt right to me. So I appreciated that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier seems to be taking their time to hand over the shield, if that's even what they will eventually do. The show opens somberly, with Sam reflecting on his final words with Steve as he packs the shield away in a special shield-sized duffel bag, which I think you can pick up at Penny's for a decent price these days, if you're wondering. We then are treated to one hell of an opening action sequence as Sam is sent out on a rescue mission of a hijacked plane taken over by terrorists led by none other than Batroc himself, played by Georges St. Pierre, who took on Cap at the beginning of the Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Being a big fan of Batroc in the comics, and who isn't, I'm glad they're making him a reoccurring character and not foolishly killing him off as they did with Frank Grillo's Crossbones in Civil War. This opening scene is as exciting, and maybe even more exciting, than some of the best Bond movie action sequences you're ever going to see, as it incorporates an airplane hijacking, an attack by 3 helicopters, and terrorists in wingsuits, whipping and zipping around desert canyons, along with highlighting just what Falcon can do for those who don't know the character. The sequence is impressive, not only for the size and scope of the action, but also the way it seamlessly transitions between those close-up hand-to-hand fighting action scenes that is surprisingly easy to read, to far-range shots of the Falcon swooping around canyons and cliffs avoiding Stinger missiles, bullets, and flying terrorists. It's thrilling big-budget motion picturing that really ups the ante on the kind of action you can see on a streaming series. I will say, if I were to nitpick something, the Falcon dives out of a flying plane that is now unmanned and destined to crash somewhere off camera. Sure, I think he switches the autopilot on, but a simple line with Sam dropping off the hostage and then saying, "Okay, I'll see you in a sec, gotta go land that plane now," would have taken care of all of that. But it never happens, and as far as anyone knows, the plane just crashes down over a village of goat herders or something off camera. Sam's boots-on-the-ground contact for this mission is Joaquin Torres, played by Danny Ramirez. If his name sounds familiar, it should be. He's been in the comics. He's a Mexican-American kid who eventually becomes the second Falcon in Nick Spencer's run on Captain America when Sam becomes Captain America. Will they do that in this series? Who knows? But it is all set up to happen if it does, as Torres seems to be Sam's #1 fan, probing him with questions about the superhero life and about what really happened to Steve Rogers, and hinting that Cap may indeed still be alive. Torres tells Sam that there are rumors Rogers is in a secret base on the moon, but Sam only scoffs at that story. But maybe he is. Cut to a posh hotel where a group of bodyguards are protecting some kind of high-ranking government guy, and the Winter Soldier in full COVID-19 mask mode crashes through the walls and ends up taking out the target while saying, "Hail Hydra." Ordered to leave no witnesses, he takes out another man who is just simply there at the wrong time to witness the assassination before Bucky wakes up from the nightmare, and we find ourselves in the present. Turns out Buck has been pardoned for all of his crimes and is now seeing a therapist, Dr. Rayner, played by Amy Aquino, and attempting to make amends for his past deeds. While there is a sense of humor in this therapy scene, it's a gallows type of humor, reminiscent of some of the best therapy scenes from The Sopranos, as the violent life of a super soldier is therapeutically broken down and the client, Bucky, is resistant to following the processes his therapist has mapped out for him. Bucky is trying to change his more violent ways, but he turns out to be still quite haunted by the sins of his past. He is carrying around a little notebook with a list of names, some of which I recognized, others I Googled. Of course, Baron Zemo is on the list, as it is well known that Zemo will be showing up later in this series. Other names on the list include Wilhelm Hauser, the name of the actor who co-starred with Stan in I, Tonya. He also starred in Richard Jewell. Andrei Rostov, aka the Red Guardian, and Kuznetsov, who was mentioned in the comics as a Soviet scientist and weapons master. We then meet Yori, played by Ken Takamoto, who seems to be Bucky's only friend. We know this because Bucky's therapist opens his phone during the session and tells him he needs more friends when she notices he only has 10 contacts. I found that scene interesting because for a secret government assassin, he doesn't seem to have a password on his cell phone. That seemed odd to me, but maybe Bucky is so old he just doesn't understand how to program his phone yet. Bucky's friend Yuri is a stubborn old guy, and while his ties to Bucky are vague at first, it is made clear in this very episode why Buck is so nice to him. In return, Yuri sets Bucky up on an awkward date with a cute gal at the sushi shop next door named Leah, played by Miki Ishikawa. The date doesn't really go as planned, as Bucky and Leah play Battleship and drink beers in the store after it's closed, but Bucky leaves early when he is reminded of why he is friends with Yuri in the first place. I'm sure that won't sit well with Leah, who seems like a free-spirited woman interested in Bucky, but not one to sit by and let her date ghost her suddenly. Back in Washington, Sam holds a press conference stating that he won't be taking Cap's shield, and instead puts it into that Cap museum we have occasionally seen in the various movies. We get a cool cameo by James Rhodey Rhodes as War Machine, played by Don Cheadle, who gives Sam an opportunity to spout his feelings about why he isn't taking on the role of Cap. I hope we see Rhodey back later in the series, maybe even in his armor. Sam then takes some me time and heads back to his family's shrimp boat business, where his sister Sarah, played by Adepero Aduye, and her 2 kids, Cass and AJ, are struggling to keep the family business running. Sam, who seems stuck in the past and attempting to keep things the way they have always been, which is one of the reasons why he isn't comfortable replacing Cap in the first place, has some difficulty convincing Sarah to let him help get the loans to get the business out of trouble. But while the banker is starstruck at meeting the Falcon, he says he can't help them since Sam has been gone for the last 5 years from the blip and the business is so far in debt. If there is a lull in the series, this is where it takes place. This scene serves as a nice motivator for Sam, but at the same time, it's a sequence that we've seen many, many times before and really cuts the knees out of the momentum of the episode. Cut to Torres on a secret mission where he is trying to infiltrate a new insurrectionalist group calling themselves the Flag Smashers. This is another quick but well-done sequence while Torres is recruited into a diversion with a group of people who wear the same mask as the leader of the Flag Smashers in order to confuse the cops from finding the criminal wearing the hockey mask with a hand painted across the face. These Flag Smashers seem to be superhumanly strong and agile, so I'm wondering if they have been augmented with some kind of super soldier serum just like Cap. The Flag Smasher is one of the key bad guys from Mark Gruenwald's 10-year run on Captain America from the comics, with which this series owes an awful lot to. The Flag Smashers are basically for the destruction of borders, and are willing to blow these borders up in order to make that dream a reality. While his group is called Ultimatum in the comics, which stands for Underground Liberated Totally Integrated Mobile Army to Unite Mankind, but it's much catchier to call them all Flag Smashers, I guess, than to try to incorporate that acronym. Not that Marvel doesn't love those acronyms, what with SWORD, SHIELD, and AIM being just a few that have showed up in the MCU so far. I find the symbol of the Flag Smashers interesting as it seems to incorporate a handprint with 5 fingers splayed out behind a globe. Could this have ties with the Hand, a ninja clan that has tormented Daredevil in his Netflix series, and also often serve as foes to Wolverine in the comics? Or, and I think this is much more likely, this is going to lead back to the Mandarin and the Ten Rings subplot that has been dangling since the end of Iron Man 3 and rumored to be a major plot point of the new Shang-Chi movie coming out next year. Hopefully, unlike my Mephisto theory, which ended up not being revealed in WandaVision, the eventual rise and reveal of a new, real Mandarin might be part of this series. Not much is left in this episode other than Sam being alerted to a news conference announcing that someone has been chosen to be the new Captain America, brandishing the shield Sam put into mothballs. So this story will be incorporating one of my favorite Captain America stories of all time, Mark Gruenwald's classic Replacement Cap saga, with John Walker, glimpsed only for a second in this episode, played by Wyatt Russell. This is one of my favorite runs on Cap, and I'll be getting deeper into that series as this show goes on. Sparks will definitely fly next episode, as Sam is not going to take this news lightly, and most likely that'll be the inciting moment putting Sam and Bucky together again. While the two characters don't even share the screen in this episode, I feel this series really will hit its stride when the two vastly different characters begin butting heads. Overall, this is a great opening episode with a phenomenal cast. Both Sam and Bucky are likable, complex characters, and it'll be fun seeing them pair up, banter, argue, and kick ass together. Maybe it'll be the Power Man and Iron Fist dynamic buddy movie team-up we never really got in that Netflix series. This episode delivers on high-octane action and side-eye spurning conspiracy. I'm sure they loaded up the first episode with lots of bang and hustle, so I'm not expecting the action to be as grandiose, but I'd love to be pleasantly surprised to see bigger budget amazement in the upcoming episodes. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Gravetrancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, MLMillerTights.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at MLMiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life Inside that we